Hello everyone, we're reading Hysterical again. I'm in the studio, aka my sister's closet, because hers is a walk-in and it has a door. This is Hysterical, Chapter 16, Headlines, Part 2, A Story of a Lifetime. Summary. Midoriya experiences multiple lifetimes each day, so it only makes sense that he'd experience once in a lifetime events just as often. Now, this next hour is crucial, Kanzaki said, as she pulled a mechanical pencil out of her pocket and set it up on her open notepad. The pencil balanced upright on the paper. Gotta milk it for all it's worth, being the only reporter here and all. Midoriya stared at the physics-defying pencil. Is that mic work? Yep, she interrupted before turning to Yamanaka, who had pulled out a second camera and was furiously snapping pictures of the devastation and students. Yamanaka, call our regular contacts and try to get some deals going, won't you? He nodded and pulled out a phone, dialing with one hand and managing the camera with the other. Now, about mic work. Kanzaki looked back at Midoriya. It's called Jot and lets me record any experience as a written article. It also works with memories, thoughts, and even daydreams. She held up a finger as she listed each item. Oh, and it also catches all spelling, grammar, and punctuation errors. Pretty neat, huh? Sounds to me like you're just a Rita Skeeter knockoff, said Bakugo, crossing his arms. No, that would be plagiarism. Mic work is very creative, thank you very much. Kanzaki seemed to have forgotten that her literal existence was in fact only to serve as a background character in a nonsensical fanfiction in which creativity is a very low priority. Bakugo scoffed. That's such a cool quirk, Midoriya said, his eyes seeming to glitter with excitement. Or perhaps it was simply the large amount of glitter in the air. It sounds pretty perfect to me. No drawbacks at all. The benefits being an OC, she said. Now, where on earth is All Might? Time is money, and money is the only reason I haven't committed arson yet. That doesn't even make sense, said Bakugo. You're just too dull to understand it. I'm a well-known writer. Everything I say is eloquent and deep. He threw his arms into the air. This is why no one likes writers. No, people don't like us because we're all pompous narcissists with inferiority complexes that demand constant validation and attention from our audience, much like the gods that dictate your pitiful life. Now, where the fuck is All Might? Bakugo glared confusedly as he took a step back. The hell? Izuku, I think your reporter is unhinged. Midoriya shrugged. Yeah, well, she's much more mentally stable than most. Oh, there you are! Kanzaki's smile returned as she grabbed All Might by the arm and pulled him over to a pile of concrete. Yamanaka, get a few shots of All Might with the rubble in the background. Yamanaka, who was, at the moment, on a conference call with more than a dozen individuals, held the phone in between his shoulder and ear as he struggled to pull his camera back out while still taking notes about the call. Eventually, he resorted to sticking the pen in his mouth and writing on the paper in one hand as he took pictures with the other. This would have been far more impressive if such an endeavor was successful. Unfortunately, all of his notes were frankly illegible. The effort was still admirable, though. I'm Kichi Kanzaki here with All Might just moments following the attack on the USJ, she began, her pencil bobbing furiously as it wrote out the interview in real time. What do you have to say about this entirely unexpected attack? As you might realize, this attack was not unexpected, as Kanzaki said. In fact, it was entirely expected, as her very presence in the USJ proved. All Might fumbled with his cowboy hat as he struggled to pull out the book of southern slang that Nezu had given him earlier. Well, you see, I reckon it doesn't amount to a hill of beans? All Might squinted at the book. I see. Could you recount the attack for those who are unaware of what occurred? I wasn't here. Sorry. I mean, I weren't round for the first bit, but He consulted the book once more, flipping a few pages. I hear tell that these uppity varmin come round over yonder all gussied up for some how-do honky-tonk, high-cotton, gosh-darn, toot-and-licko rubber-neekin rough talk. Now, please note that All Might is actually All Might. This is perhaps a little confusing, but it is important to understand that he is not actually a native Hickish speaker, and as such, most of his speech is entirely incomprehensible. I see. So I hear tell about this, and come up with this cattywampus doohickey that look if it been done hit with the ugly stick. And sure enough, he hesitated. It was a really difficult opponent? I'm sorry, I'm still a beginner to this language, and I'm afraid I'm not entirely fluent yet. Kanzaki shrugged. No worries, no one else speaks it either, so it's no big deal if you just spout some nonsense for a while. For that matter, I'll just be filling in the rest of the interview for you so that I have enough time to get some of the other victims. Isn't that illegal? It's only illegal if you get caught. I do not believe that's how laws work. Kanzaki ignored him. Come on, Yamanaka and Midoriya, it's time to take advantage of children's trauma in the name of capitalism. The remainder of Class 1A that had not been scattered and 13 were gathered around Aizawa. Is he going to be okay? Uraraka asked. His wounds do not look life-threatening, although we should get him to Recovery Girl as soon as possible, said 13. No, I meant mentally. This was a sound worry, considering Aizawa hadn't stopped muttering about suicidal children since Asui and Todoroki had brought him back up near the entrance. Probably, 13 said, sounding quite uncertain. It was at that moment that the rest of the staff finally reached the USJ and stormed through the doors. You're a little late, Asui informed them. Upon seeing Present Mike, probably because that garish hairdo of his was the only recognizable thing after having his skull bashed in, Aizawa staggered to his feet and grabbed him by the shoulders. This could have been because he was attempting to ensure that he had Yamada's full attention, or it could have just been his way of steadying himself. Hisashi, he said fearfully. He's dead. He's dead, Hisashi. Who's dead? Midoriya. He's dead. Yamada squinted. Are you sure? Because that kid over there looks an awful lot like Midoriya. Aizawa turned, trying to see where Yamada was pointing, but due to the unfortunate abundance of blood in his eyes, he was unable to confirm. But I saw him die. Well, he looks pretty alive to me. During their conversation, several more members of the class had made their way back to the entrance. This included a very wet Mineta, Ojiro, who was looking terribly traumatized, with Senor Kanehito riding atop his shoulder, and Kirishima, who had a look of horror that rivaled even that of Ojiro's. He's alive, Kirishima said, haunted. I don't know how, but he's very much alive. And it looks like he has a reporter with him, Rivet. Wait, said Zero. Did Midoriya hire a reporter? He did, Kirishima confirmed. I think she's interviewing All Might? All Might, the staff repeated, confused. They seem to be coming this way, Ida said, adjusting his glasses. I think, Aizawa said, his words slurring. I think I'm going to go to sleep, until the world makes sense again. And with that, he promptly passed out. And that was it for this chapter. That's the last part of chapter 16. We'll get on with chapter 15 next time. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Goodbye!